All right, you guys should be recording right now.
Thank you.
I'll stay on. I'm just gonna cut my picture.
Okay.
And then at the end of this presentation, can you send that recording to me or Mark, and we can give you our emails?
We'll get it to you.
Yep.
All right.
We'll work something out.
I will put my email in the chat.
You put mine as well, Tiffany.
Yes.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay. So if we can just assume everyone knows nothing, because I know nothing. I think Mariana knows a little, and we'll just kind of start from there, and I'll have to just bring Kathy up to speed if she ends up being able to jump over.
No worries. So we created our presentation, assuming you guys know nothing, so we'll get you caught up to speed.
Good.
All right. So everyone can see my screen okay?
Mariana, can you see the screen? Yes. Okay.
All right. Okay, so we are United Black Family Scholarship Foundation, and we were founded in 2014, and our mission statement is to rebuild the community from within the community. So today we kind of wanted to present to you all because we were just looking at the work you guys do, and it very much aligns with the work we want to do. So we're hoping to gain some insight, partnership, and just learn from you all, and maybe have a little bit of a mentorship as we move forward in trying to get our program established. This is our team right here. We are in Oklahoma City at some Chinese restaurant buffet. It was quite delicious. And on the right here in the red is Senator Connie Johnson. So it was a privilege to have her come to our conference. We had a leadership conference there in the end of February, and our speaker was Glenn E. Martin, if any of you heard of him before.
I haven't heard of him, but I know the senator.
Yeah, so Glenn E. Martin, he is founded 3 nonprofits, and he's raised over $75 million in the nonprofit sector, and he lives in New York City. He advises our organization on just like nonprofit stuff in general, but he's also a criminal reform advocate and has done a lot of work around that.
Great.
So this sentence kind of summarizes the work of our organization. We are an organization that aims to uproot the systems that maintain racism and poverty. So we were founded by Ivan Kilgore. He is an author, activist, and he's currently incarcerated in California at Solano State Prison, which is in Vacaville. So I thought that was interesting that you were near there because that's where he currently is. So he's been in prison for about 25 years, and he built this nonprofit from behind bars.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so the reason why we have our work based in Oklahoma and California is because he is from Oklahoma and from the Oklahoma City area. So that's why we're beginning there. And then we want to bring that work eventually to California in like Bay Area, and then hopefully nationwide one day.
Okay.
This is our core team. This is me and Mark here. And then on the left here is Cedric, our media consultant, and on the right is Yusra, our senior researcher. And us 3, Mark, me, and Yusra, are all UCSC graduates. We just graduated last year or this year. So we're fresh out of college.
Good.
This is us 3 in Oklahoma after our conference. So we do a few different things in our organization, but our main work is the Rebuild program, but I'll go ahead and brief you on the other stuff that we do. Okay. So we sponsor AAU basketball teams, and this is just to engage youth in the community. So there's 2 teams that we sponsor. And in the first picture I showed you, there was 2 gentlemen on the left who are the coaches of those basketball teams. We also have a 100 prisoner book publishing project. So essentially this project is to publish 100 books written by incarcerated men and women. And this is to create a platform for their voices. And our kind of, I guess, mission statement with that would be those closest to the problem are closest to the solution, but furthest from power and resources. And that's actually a quote from Glenn E. Martin.
May I say something about that as well, Tiffany?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the whole point of that, we want these people to retake the narrative that has been essentially taken by those who have conspired to put them there. So to reshape the way normal people outside think of crime and punishment and the incarcerated people inside prisons.
Thank you, Mark. So our Rebuild program is a community reinvestment program, and it stands for Reinvest in Every Black and Underserved Institution That Lacks Diversity. Rebuild for short. So I'm gonna go ahead and gonna give you some background on our objective and then our goals and how we plan on accomplishing it and then measuring the success of our program. So the objective of our program is to provide alternative paths in communities that have high incarceration rates, a lot of violence, drug use, poverty. We want to create an alternative path to develop, equip, and connect and utilize human capital in the restoration of the community. So we want to revitalize this community and refurbish homes. And while we're doing that, we want to work with community members so we can give them employment opportunities, skill building opportunities, engagement with the community. So we are working with local and state partners to refurbish the residential and commercial properties. And we're also trying to connect with universities and schools in the local area so we can have our youth engagement. And then also we would like to work with like the Department of Corrections and work with formerly incarcerated people and employ them in this reconstruction process. Another part of our program is we don't not only want to rebuild these properties and make the community beautiful, but we want to assess the needs of the specific community. So our plan is to create surveys and administer those surveys throughout the community that we're working in and kind of get an idea of what's going on there, if there's high incarceration rates or a lot of single mothers or you know, a lack of school supplies in the homes. Like we want to figure out what's going on by collecting this data so we can then create a program to address that need. So an example I have listed was high incarceration rates. So if we collect our data and find out there's a lot of folks incarcerated in that community, we would like to develop a program that would offer resources and varying types of support for families who are experiencing incarceration, as well as for folks who are coming out of prison and are getting back on their feet. And this would be for various things we find. It's truly just what the data shows us because different communities may vary in the needs they have. And after we are doing our reconstruction process and working with community members, any surplus revenue that is generated from this will go back into the program as well as into our scholarship and community grant program. So we have like a traditional scholarship program for students, and then we have a community grant program, which is for businesses and affordable housing programs that are kind of geared towards social justice work. So these pictures are some pictures we took when we were in Oklahoma City for a conference, and these are examples of the properties that we would like to obtain and then eventually rebuild with the community and then sell back at below market rates.
So you purchase the home and then you refurbish it and then sell it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in speaking with the Oklahoma City Planning Department, we were informed that as of this month, I believe, there's a total of 1,100 abandoned homes in the Oklahoma City area. And the city itself loses an ungodly amount of money yearly. So $6.5 million is lost annually just based on city service calls, say police, fire, animal welfare, etc. And the city also loses the $20 million in potential property tax revenue. So that comes out to about $11.6 million that does not go to schools because 58% of the property tax goes to the school system. And then on average, the $100,000 home generates about $900 to $1,100 yearly. Mm-hmm. And then as well, the total property value has been reduced by $2.7 billion just based on having all these dilapidated properties in the city limits. You can switch to the next slide. Okay. Yeah, so our program we have a couple ways to measure our success. I think the the most important one is a rise in home ownership rates in these communities that we're working in. And then as well as that, as the repayment of affordable housing loans. So we don't want these people to default on their loans. So we are also going to offer financial training and whatever other training we need to help these people obtain, buy, and continue to pay off home loans. And then as well, we have greater youth engagement through the completion of training programs and civic projects, the creation of community-led support networks and mentorship groups that meet community needs, a decrease in incarceration rates, decrease in teenage pregnancy rates, decrease in violent crime, and a rise in the ratio of available, healthy, affordable housing per geographic area. So this will be over a 5-year period. That is the extent of our program as of now. Again, this program it will shift and change with the needs of each community, and that's why the community assessment is so important. So we can actually assess, because not all underserved communities are going to be the same and are going to need the same things. However, we do understand that one of the major things would be housing, but there are going to be a bunch of different things. So that will dictate how long the program will be, how short the program will be, but as of right now, it'll be a 5-year program. So we have been speaking with 2 elementary schools in the Oklahoma City area. It's actually within Ward 7. So we want to work with Martin Luther King Jr. Elementary and Thelma Parks Elementary schools to fundraise for them so we can. Well, first of all, so this whole COVID-19, we were going to have this backpack outreach program as a way to get our foot in the door into the community so we can connect with community members, complete the community assessment survey, and help these kids whose families may not be able to provide them with the supplies they need to thrive in school. But then COVID-19 hit, so we are not allowed to go out there and have this huge gathering and barbecue and everything that we were planning on doing. So we sort of shifted gears, and we still wanted to provide some sort of service to these schools as a way to get our foot in the door into the community. But we decided that with all the distance learning that's happening, what the school most likely needed was technology, so laptops and internet access. And now that we're in contact with the principal of Martin Luther King Elementary School, that is something that they will need. So we're looking to get 500 laptops, and then we're still trying to figure out how to get the internet access, but we're speaking with AT&T, and I think that's very promising right now. So that is one thing that we're looking to do at these schools. And then this will help us for youth engagement and other community engagement that will help our program.
We are also trying to get connected with like local high schools or vocational schools that have like a wood shop or engineering type of course, because we hope to like partner with youth who are taking wood shop classes, for example, to help with our rebuild program. And they could get community service hours as well as that community engagement experience. And it could be like an apprenticeship as well.
Yeah.
I think I have a slide missing, Mark. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
You're fine.
No, it's right below.
The university slide is missing, but I can.
Oh, I can just talk about that then.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we actually had a meeting with Dr. Henderson, who is the associate dean. Correct me if I'm wrong. The associate dean at Langston University in Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Chair of Social Sciences.
Chair of Social Sciences. But so we're trying to develop an internship program with the students there in her social sciences department. And she's looking to get us a meeting with the dean of the school so we can actually have a school-wide partnership with them, so we can offer these students in like field experience working on the ground, doing the community assessment surveys, and then maybe helping us develop our programs, helping us with data analysis, all these things that will be very beneficial to them. And they're very interested in our program. So we've partnered with them, or in the process of partnering with them. But we've also developed it was an internship program with UCSC, so University of California, Santa Cruz, over in Santa Cruz. And we've gotten 10 interns from that who are currently working for our organization right now. And they're helping us with resource development, the budget and finance committee, the programs committee, and just a bunch of other various things that we're doing in the management of this organization. And we are also partnering with the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice. So they have 35 national chapters, and that would be, so we could provide, so that would help us spread across the United States. However, that would be a couple years down the line. And I think that was everything on the slide, correct?
Right. So National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice, I'm going to refer to NABCJ for short because it's a mouthful. Their chapter is at Langston. So we are connecting with Langston to work with that chapter, but also have that partnership with Langston University. And then if our internship program is successful with the chapter at Langston, we can essentially expand to all the 35 chapters nationwide and have a whole pool of interns from the NABCJ organization all across America. And we also have are looking to partner with University of Indiana, Pennsylvania. So we're looking to start working with their graduate English department to help with our 100 books publishing project. So we would create an internship where those students would help us edit those manuscripts of the submissions from inmates and then help us publish them and get that program on the road.
Yes. Yeah, and these are other partnerships that we've been working on. So like I said earlier, the Oklahoma City Planning Department, they actually did a program like this. I'm sure you know of this, but I think it was 6 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that, where they bought up, I believe, 72 REO homes from the banks, and they refurbished them, and then they sold them back to community members at a significantly below market rate. So I was speaking with Matthew Gabrielson. He was telling me all these statistics and all these things, and he's very interested in the program itself. And we're also developing relationships with potential funders. So we're talking with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. We're also speaking with Google, the Kresge Foundation, Hill Snowden Foundation, Ford Foundation, and the Circle of Justice Initiative. Those are all potential partnerships. And then next week, I believe, we're meeting with the councilwoman of Ward 7, Nikki Nice.
Mm-hmm. Like this, are you going to have a Zoom call with her?
Yes.
Yeah.
And probably have the same presentation.
Questions? I have questions, but I'm going to let Mariana go first.
Yes.
Nicole has the best questions. Nicole, you should go first.
Okay.
Oh,
So
go ahead.
my questions might lead into your question. So let me go ahead and ask, because mine are sort of actually not they're sort of basic in that some of all of this is wonderful. Like, it's all fantastic. It all needs to happen. It's all real problems. It's all legitimate. It's great. Mm-hmm. There are some people who have done some work on these things here, and there are some resources and some data that's been collected. And my first response is there's probably some work that's been done that you can jump onto that will accelerate your efforts, and also make it clear to, especially with someone like the councilwoman, that you've done your homework, right? And I'm saying this because Mariana probably knows better than I do on some of them, like who it is. But I know, like, the Lynn Institute did a huge amount of data gathering, and they have this published hardbound book that's a few years old, but at the end of the day, the statistics are probably still pretty much the same as they were then. And a lot of it's health related, but it's still looking at a lot of the same factors that you're talking about. So that might be something that would be helpful. And then
Can I ask a question really quick?
Absolutely.
The Lynn Institute, they did data gathering for Oklahoma City specifically?
Or specifically the northeast side where you're talking about mostly.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, and based off of the answer, which I would say this was a great presentation. Yep. We've had a lot of conversations with so many partners and folks that are aspiring to do the work, and it's very clear that you all have a lot of those pieces there. One of the questions I was going to ask is like, how are you all defining community? Are you all looking at a certain quadrant? You mentioned the great Councilwoman Nice. Are you looking to do work in Northeast Oklahoma City? I think you also mentioned the South Side, or is this citywide? And I kind of got confused. Is this nationwide, or like, where are you starting?
Right. So we're starting in Oklahoma City, specifically in Ward 7. This would be something we want to expand nationwide, but we have a specific few zip codes that we want to start in, which fall in the Ward 7 area.
Okay, thank you so much. And then to build on what Nicole is saying, what will strengthen, especially before you go before Councilwoman Nice, because so many people come to her and saying, I can help, I want to help, let me help. And it's great because there are a lot of different issues and there's space for everyone to do your work, but doing a mapping of who is really, so whenever you mentioned the 2 elementary schools, I immediately thought of Restore OKC, that are those 2 schools and some others they're serving the teachers, they're serving the students, they have a volunteer network, probably one outside of the regional food bank, one of the most robust grassroots volunteer networks that I've encountered, where they go into the community, they do housing repair, they have a garden, and then they work with the schools and do wraparound services for the teachers to focus on teacher retention. And those are 2 of their sites. So, and that's just one example. So Lynn,
what is it called?
Restore OKC. And
we'll make a list for you guys.
Yeah, we're happy to. And the Lynn Institute has a actual Northeast coalition. Just to tell you the magnitude of how much service coordination is taking place in Northeast Oklahoma City, of over 30 partners that are doing something as it pertains to development, economic development, health, social service, education, business. I mean, you name it. I'm not saying that there aren't gaps or areas in which services could be improved, but I would definitely get in touch with them first just to say, hey, this is where we're at. I think that their list of stakeholders is on their website, but I'm sure Anthony, and I can put him in contact with you all, would be very happy to share that list with you.
Thank you. And did you say that was the Lynn Institute and they have over 30 services?
They have over 30, they have a coalition.
Okay.
It's, the something Northeast, HCC Northeast Collaborative.
It's called a collaborative, yeah.
And they have partners all the way from the zoo to the Science Museum to neighborhood associations to Restore OKC to the Oklahoma County City Health Department. I'm a stakeholder in that group. There's so many people that are in there, and that's just specific to Northeast Oklahoma City. And Councilwoman Nice is a part of that too. She is given presentations multiple times on food scarcity issues and things like that.
Okay.
Yep, that would be my big message. Is I think there's a lot of maybe homework, but we can help you. We can provide you with contact information and information about who's doing what. But I think it's all of what you're doing is commendable and needed. It's just, you definitely want to have done a really thorough job of homework and finding out who's doing what and how you can partner and not duplicate or not, confuse matters.
Right.
And when you go to the councilwoman, that's what will, she won't react well, I don't think, if you haven't done that. But if you have done that, then she'll know that you've done your homework and that you know who's doing what and what's taken place. I will also say that communities, including Northeast Oklahoma City, often sort of get survey fatigue, right? Everybody wants to ask them a survey, and if you keep surveying and then nothing changes, and it starts to feel like, why are they asking me these questions again? Everybody asks us these questions, but nothing's changing. So finding out what data has been gathered, what do you really need to gather data on again, and then how can you jump into what's already taking place? It's all really important work, like Mariana said, and there's definitely room for everyone to do the work, but definitely find out who's doing what and how you fit into what's already happening. Because while it is a area, and there are areas of the city that have been disinvested and definitely need attention and support, there are a whole lot of people trying hard in those areas already, and so it's important to know that and recognize that.
Right.
And I would add, yeah, mining existing data reports is going to be so important because, I mean, you name it. There have been so many
surveys.
so many surveys, focus groups.
Mhm.
There's been so much, right? And sometimes it feels like little gains. And so it's just like, what is this about? So, and especially if you aren't a OCCHD, Oklahoma City County Health Department, right, that does robust services, as in saying, hey, I'm getting this information so I can improve my services. It's just, so I would just be mindful of that too. And then I would also say is that there's so many areas, if there's flexibility for you all, there are areas in the city that have just the same social and economic woes, and there's nothing happening, very little happening. You know, I think about Northwest Side that I partially lived in, and there's little activity going on over there. And there are corporations that want to see growth happen, right? And so if you're willing to look at other quadrants of the cities, and I'm not trying to discourage you from Ward 7, I'm just saying if the goal and objective is, as you all mentioned, there's some other neighborhoods and communities that you literally would be the only ones doing that sort of work, you know, like the only ones doing that work, and they need an infrastructure for that type of work to happen. And so I would just, mention if there's flexibility. I think the partnership with LU is great. I think that's great. So I do want to commend you on that, and the folks that you have talked to are the right folks.
Yep.
Continue to do the research.
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of flexibility because this is like a pilot program and we are actively developing it. So I think moving to a different location that needs the services more would be in favor of our organization, because we don't want to be doing the same work as other people, and also for that community. So I will totally look into that. Do you know what ward it is? The Northwest Side?
Let me look up the city of Oklahoma City map.
And there's also like near South, Capitol Hill area, near South, which is several wards. There's an interesting, if you look at the ward map, if you look at an Oklahoma City ward map, there's a place, there's a part of the city that's within sort of a circle of highways, but there are several different city council people that cover it. And I feel like some of the reason that it, as a geographic area, that it maybe doesn't get attention is there's too many city council people responsible for it. You know what I mean? And they're not coordinating. So, and they're different kinds of council people. And I'll send you an email with the area I'm talking about. But it'd be kind of interesting to study. There's a charter high school there, and I went and talked to some of the kids there, and they wanted to put in a youth center. They want to make a pitch to put in a community center. And when I started looking at the ward map, I was like, oh my gosh, no wonder nobody does anything here, because it's on like the edge of 3 different wards. And I don't feel like anybody actually takes ownership of that area, you know? And then there's,
What did you say that was again?
yeah, but it's in the middle of the city. Like, let me see if I can give you sort of a geographic area. I mean, basically it's as very broadly, it was like north of 240 and south of 40, east of 44, and west of 35. But that's a bigger area than I can narrow it down for you more than that. But the school I went to was Southeast High School, that I was talking with them, and it was just really interesting how when I started looking at how the ward map intersects in that area. So that's something interesting to look at. And then there's an area of Ward 7 that is on the south side of the river that I also feel like doesn't ever get any attention. And I think it's because of the river, you know, like there's some geographic, psychological barrier, but it's kind of on the east side of Shields, east of Shields and west of 35, from the river south to, say, gosh, I don't know, southeast 44th, maybe not that far south. But that whole area, it'd be interesting to study the demographics there, because I feel like it's definitely mostly people of color, but it's some African American, some Hispanic, and it's very low income, very poorly served. But it's not on the radar as much as like the northeast side of Ward 7 is.
Okay.
So I don't know, just some as you're studying, you know, the city, those are some interesting things to look at.
And I think, you know, for something that I'm still working through, I think because we start with the place and then, you know, we're doing this work and then we kind of figure out what's next or where our resources most needed. And it's maybe for you all looking at figuring out, okay, these are our goals and objectives. And as you're mining data, are there any data sources that are so that we're data driven that's saying not only this ward, but these other areas too, these other pockets of the neighborhood have high rates of incarceration and high rates of grandparents. And as a result, high rates of grandparents who are raising their grandchildren and have this, you know, a grandparent who's, and you know, you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to steer you in an area and just say Northwest City, Northwest Oklahoma City, and then not be the area, but that encompasses Ward 1 and 6, just depending on where you are. And then there's also the city of Bethany there. That's its own municipal government. But I can think of plenty of areas that, and I will say it frank, like that have less politics also involved. Comes to this work, because that is a part of navigating this as well. Being that
It is, and there are partnerships too that haven't maybe been formed that are some kind of resources, like just I'm just throwing ideas at you. So since you're looking at the map and you're looking at data, if you look at that area that I just mentioned south of the river, you know, there's $1 billion of investment right across the river in the new convention center and the new park, and the boathouse district is on the north side of the river there. There's so many jobs that have been created, and there's so much investment in the city that's on the north side of the river. So it feels like it wouldn't be a stretch to be able to connect the residents of the area literally on the other side of the river into, you know, all the investments that have been made just on the north side. I don't feel like that's happening. I have no idea anyone who's doing that.
I would say if you're exploring that, I'm sorry, I'm just having lunch. That's
no, you're fine. And we're just, Mariana and I, if you get us started, we'll just keep throwing ideas out there like this.
Literally do this.
No, that's okay. We want that.
You all did the right thing by saying, hey, okay, who's doing the work? Let's have a conversation. Anything that's happening in South Side is huge and not monolithic. So is Northeast Side, right? It doesn't have the same story, the same population that has, you know, singular needs. But what I would advise in the South Side, just a broad statement, is the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is very, very active. You have Scissortail Community Development Corporation. You have Gloria is over what?
Is she not South Chamber?
No.
Or Hispanic Chamber? No,
she's historic. What is that? Is it
Capitol Hill?
Capitol Hill. They're doing some placemaking activities out there. So you have some players that are doing some work. That you can talk to, that can partner or help steer or anything like that.
Do you know, Mariana, do those organizations that are more Hispanic focused focus at all in that Scheidler area that I'm just talking about? That's kind of where the population kind of shifts from Hispanic to African American. Do you know what I mean?
I think that there's some education programming that's going on so far as after school and youth, because they developed for one, they're advocating for a charter school. Two, they have this it's a program that's culturally based in music, and I don't know what the sites are. It's like God, I can't think of what it's called. But so far as workforce, I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I feel like sometimes that area gets lost because, like, Capitol Hill, it's east of Capitol Hill, and I don't know if they think about it, and it's south of Northeast, you know, and it's south of the river, and I don't know if they think about it. And when you drive around in there, it feels like a different place. Like there are no curbs, there are no, it's almost feels rural, even though it's right in the middle of downtown. It's so different, so disinvested. And there's a really, really large really rough public housing complex in the middle of right there at High and Southeast 15th. It's called Ambassador Courts, I think.
I'm glad that you talked about public housing. I had a conversation with someone up in Tulsa yesterday. They also do community development, and their data is driven because there's so much data, but they work with the housing authority there, the Tulsa Housing Authority there, because we know that folks often, families and individuals that are in public housing, face different barriers and typically have very specific needs. And so they work at a site, at a public housing site, and do very intense case management, all the things that you all are talking about. That's exactly what they do. And it's at one specific site. And she said it takes all 10 of her employees to execute well. And they still need, you know, so in thinking of like a geographic area, that's huge. But if you're talking about a public housing site,
yeah,
you all would be able to do some incredible work, or whoever would be able to do some incredible work. And we know folks that are over at the Oklahoma City Housing Authority office too.
If there are 200 apartments at Ambassador Courts, and it is rough, and it's right in the area that I was just talking about. If somebody adopted that, you know, like you're saying, focused on that, just on that apartment complex and that public housing and the issues that are happening, you know, with the population there, that would make a huge difference. It's Oklahoma City Public Schools. And again, yeah, we know the assistant director of the housing authority, and he's really helpful. So there are so many things you could do, and it's wonderful that you want to be here and that your connection with the individual whose name I wrote down, but I can't remember right now, who's incarcerated in Vacaville, of all places.
Ivan Kilgore, he's our founder.
Yes. So he maybe if you're focusing on Northeast Oklahoma City, maybe that's where he's from, or where his family is from. I'm not sure how you got led to that area, but again, plenty to do there, plenty to do in other parts of the city, but just really doing your homework about who's already doing what, and we can send you, you know, we can get you a lot of people to talk to, and they'll do the same. Probably they'll have ideas for you of who to talk to. And I think when you make your presentation, as you're talking to different people, you know, you can preface that with, I'm going to give you this presentation, and we're aware that other people are doing some of this work. So as you're watching it, if you think of people we should talk to beside you, we don't want to step on toes. We want to coordinate. We want to not reinvent the wheel, but be there as an additional resource. So, you know, and people will continue to give you ideas about who you should be talking with.
That's great. That's exactly what we want, because we're really like figuring it out right now, and trying to lean on the people around us who are doing this work and have a lot more knowledge, because like we just got out of college, but you're
doing great. You're doing fantastic, and you're doing everything that you have in mind is needed, necessary, great programs, great ideas, you know, fantastic. Like, it's really, really good.
I did have a question. The folks working at that public housing complex and providing those services, what was that under?
In Tulsa?
Yes.
Oh, so that's Urban Strategies.
Thank you.
So that's a national organization, and I have a friend that works there. They partner with housing authorities that receive choice neighborhoods, federal dollars, because typically choice neighborhoods really focuses on the housing piece. And then they bring Urban Strategies in to focus on what they call the people piece. So it's not enough to just, you know, make sure people are in housing, but really to address some of those social and economic challenges as well, so they can advance. So yeah.
Okay.
And then what I would also add is remain ambitious and remain thoughtful. And I picked that up to you all are so thoughtful in your approach with this, and really coming at it, addressing not just looking at the, you know, people's individual choices, but the structural barriers that people have with trying to survive, let alone thrive. And so I really, really commend you all. I will say it is very hard work, and you know this. So, and this is not a surprise to you. each of those domains that you're hitting on need to happen, and each of those can be so complex, but it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
Mhm.
But I can tell you from where Progress OKC on the affordable housing side, it is it's how to do those deals sometimes is so complex and layered that I have people like, let's do it. And I'm like, I wish it was that simple. Like, I wish it was like that straightforward. And I don't want to deter you or anything, because we need more folks in the affordable housing sector. We absolutely do. So just if you all have, want to talk more about the housing side, I'm happy to be a resource. I'm learning a lot of it as well myself. We're closing on a deal actually tomorrow. And so it's very exciting to make sure that people that are severely low income, moderate income have housing and have those home ownership opportunities, as you all said, can have access to assets. And so I appreciate you all for bringing that up and for discussing that. And we can talk about what that looks like. We need more people doing the work, but we also need more funding. We need more funding for it as well. And it seems like fight every year. I'm new in this, but it seems like people fight every year to preserve the affordable housing little bit that we do have. So just keep that in mind as you all are talking to funders, these corporations that are wanting to invest, making that case here. Locally, there aren't a lot of public dollars towards affordable housing. And so we need private funders to be matching or investing in this, and the whole well-being of someone, which is rooted to me in housing first. So you all are on the right path with that. And yeah, I'm excited to learn more and to share more with you all.
Can I ask, how are you guys funded?
It depends on, there are different programs we have that are funded different ways. So like the housing that Mariana's working on that's got subsidy is subsidized with home funds through HUD. So her organization is one of our organizations is building homes with subsidy through HUD. So it really depends on which programs you're talking about. We're funded, our organization is funded, through a contract with the city that has different pots of money. But the programs that we work on, or the programs that we are working with, they come from, the funding just depends on the program.
So is it okay if like later down the line, maybe in a few weeks, like we had another meeting where we could we do all our research and come back and then like move from there?
Absolutely. We are happy to talk with you. I'm thrilled to see your enthusiasm and that you want to do work here, and we are happy to try to do everything we can to help.
Thank you.
In between now and the next meeting, definitely get connected with Lynn Institute. The coalition meetings have now gone virtual, but they're doing, it seems like bi-weekly updates, so you all can get familiar with and acquainted with partners in this area, and I'll send over that information.
Who would be the best person for them to talk to at the Lynn Institute?
Anthony Kobe.
What's the last name?
Coby. He is the director of community outreach.
Okay, thank you.
Would you mind sending all of this information in like an email or something?
Yeah, I'm happy to follow up.
Yep. Give us a day or two to put everything together in an email, especially since Mariana's got 2 houses to close on today and tomorrow. But
No,
yeah.
take your time on that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm thinking our meeting with the councilwoman was set for Monday. I'm thinking it might be wiser to reschedule so we can really have our research done.
I would say that she's not that hard to get a meeting with, and I don't think it would be disrespectful to say, we'd like to reschedule. We have a little bit more work we'd like to do before we talk with her or whatever.
Right.
Let her know now so that she can fill that time slot. But I think you'll do better with her if you've done a little bit more research. Is my gut feeling. What do you think, Mariana? I can't hear you.
I'm mute. I agree. Especially, I think if you all meet with her on Monday, learn more. Learn more, because she's spearheading. Well, and I don't know if the agenda has already been set, but no matter what, allow her the opportunity to let you all know what she's a part of and what she's doing. Because I think me being altruistic and just like a very much so go-getter, sometimes I come in thinking I have the solution. And you want to pay homage to the fact that people have been doing in this community, living in this community, fostering community-based ideas. So just say, I'm here to listen, you know, and I'm here to learn from you, and how can I help you, and how can I join into some of the initiatives that you have, and, you know, here's some ideas that we have, and, you know, things like that. She's a part of a lot of different things. I mean, we talk about real estate and food security, and I mean, so much. She has her hands in a lot.
Yeah, and Mariana, how do you feel about, I don't know exactly how to say this, the message of, you know, she very much wants to empower the community to help themselves, like the sort of the we're going to come in and help you thing, or we're going to come in and fix things, I don't think sets as well, you know. There's some messaging piece there that is important always, but maybe even especially with the councilwoman or with a council person in a board that's got so many challenges. I don't know. What do you think, Mariana?
No, I think that her philosophy, and a lot of folks, you know, would agree, like Ella Baker, strong people don't need strong leaders. And so it really is, you know, giving folks the resources and tools for them to be able to create community, self-sufficiency, you know, drive their own destiny. So yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah, it's like that savior complex, which I'm sure you all are very familiar with that term. Like,
right.
Yeah, we hear that often, like, we don't want it done for us or to us, we want it done with us or by us, and you all get behind us, you know?
Right.
And I respect that.
Does that make sense? I say these things having had to learn them myself along the way and still learning them, so it's definitely not any kind of criticism or at all. It's like, let me, you know, tell you
lessons learned.
Yes, let me share some lessons learned that I'm still making and learning. It's you know, it's important to think about the message and the way it's delivered in the
and I'll give you a concrete example. And again, thinking that no community has singular needs, singular visions, but on affordable housing, we were like, yes, like, let's, you know, we were talking about massive affordable housing. And then a board member of mine and some other folks were like, no, like that, we want it to be more mixed income. We don't want to depress the market here. We want to be able to have, you know, higher end. But then you can hear other people that are like, hey, gentrification, you know, we're being, so, you know, it's really trying to figure out, sort, you know, again, depending on who you talk to, it's just different. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Even within the community, or even when we're talking with people that we think we know, like we think we understand their perspective, or we know what they'll say and they'll surprise us, you know. So it's really interesting, but there just has been so much work done. So we will send you some links of things you can look at, people who you can Google and study and talk to, and you can sort of map out, you know, what's happening versus what you'd like to get involved in and where you might plug in, and then you'll be ready, I think, better prepared to talk to the councilwoman, and to be more effective and not have to kind of reinvent the wheel in any area.
Definitely. We don't want to do that.
Yep.
So,
super impressive. You guys are amazing. I'm thrilled to see what you're doing.
We appreciate you guys so much, and all the resources and knowledge that you're sharing with us is very important. Like, I'm soaking this all up. I'm trying to write as fast as I can.
We'll send you emails and follow up.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we'll send you this video, so you'll have that as well.
Awesome.
Yes,
Thank you. So when we get that email, we'll go ahead and start doing our research. And then maybe before we present to the council, when we can come back and have a mock presentation again and get your guys' input.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Thank you so much for your time today.
You're very welcome.
We'll talk
I
soon.
gotta get on another call. I'll see you later.
All right. Thank you. Well, look forward to getting that email. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Mark, you want a video chat?